Hi friends, welcome back. So if you've been following the stock market for the last couple of weeks, you'll know that Tesla stock has been on a tear. This has largely been due to rumors about what Tesla is going to be doing in the future and leading up to this August 8th announcement, which we'll see what it is. But it turns out some of these rumors leading up to that thing may not be true. I want to go through some of the headlines and let's just jump right in. So headline, July 1st, 2024, so about a week ago, Tesla stock jumps, and some think it's because of this Elon move. And we talked about this a week ago. Basically, what it was is Elon Musk followed Travis Kalanick, who was the founder of Uber. He's not at Uber anymore, so then it's like, oh, okay, you're not at Uber anymore. And if you don't know, he had a bunch of sexual harassment things, left Uber, and then the idea was that maybe this guy will come, again, the founder of Uber will come and help out Elon Musk over at the Robotaxi, maybe even head the Robotaxi division. As it turns out, about a week later, so July 7, 2024, here's the headline: Musk denies rumors that Tesla tapped new Robotaxi head. Let's read the details of this one. And this is the crazy world that we live in. I mean, guys, Elon Musk could follow, doggy coins on Twitter, and it's like, oh my God, doggy coins are the future. And then, then it turns out, oh no, he's not following doggy coins. He's going to follow rabbit coins. Oh my God, rabbit coins are the future. And this is essentially the kind of things that happen with these kind of stocks, and the market as a whole is based on rumors and who follows who on social media, for real. It's crazy, and it reminds me of the whole roaring kitty thing. For example, 23 hours ago, this is one of these stock promoter guys, Peggy Dude. He says, if this rumor becomes true, Tesla stock would easily surpass $400 after 8/8. That refers to August 8th. Easily, he says. And then I guess the rumor was, it says here, it's rumored that former CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick, will be introduced on 8/8 as the new head of the Robotaxi division, right? So that was the rumor. Again, I repeated it. Again, it's a rumor. Elon Musk said on July 8th, he said, all that matters is improving Tesla's self-driving AI such that miles between intervention is greater than human. So then, again, no mention of the Uber rumor thing here. We have another one. This was just 4 hours ago. Car dealership guy, this person wrote, so the rumor is that Elon hired Uber's founder, Travis Kalanick, to advise or potentially run, right? Again, we're talking about the Uber founder dude, Tesla's upcoming Robotaxi division. Can you imagine? And then Elon Musk tweets out, false. It's coming directly from Elon. Farzad dude, who's one of the Tesla stock promoters, he says, damn. And then you have a car dealership guy, well, that answers it. And then Greg was actually kind of an important tweet, says, being the first to break the news isn't always the best approach, and I would agree with that. This is the problem with this Tesla stock rumor stuff. Again, it's all rumors, and the stock moves on these kind of things. What does Elon tweet? And I've mentioned to you guys before, if you're going 100% YOLOing on Tesla and you're basing it on the whims of whatever Elon says on Twitter, chances are you're going to get burned the same way people got burned with Dogecoin. I think there's a high chance you're going to get burned with this Robotaxi thing. And again, it appears, right, at the moment that the rumors that the Uber dude is not necessarily going to head the Robotaxi division at Tesla. Now, I understand that the Tesla stock has been rallying. I mentioned it, right? You guys can see that there. It's been up, I think it's up like 40%. So doing quite great. However, you still got to break the downward trend. You can see it's been happening all year. So I know my line went straight there, but it is a downward trend. And in fact, it's down in the past year about 8%. The downward trend has been, you can take a look at the last couple of years. You guys can see right there. It has been surging up, but it's still got to break this level right there, right? For example, from 2021, November 5th to now, which is July 5th, 2024, the stock is still down 38%. So I understand that you're tuning into whatever stock pumper channel that tell you Tesla's going to go to the moon, etc. Well, they certainly weren't right back then. Yes, it's true. The stock has gone up the past month. But again, the question is essentially, what is Tesla stock going to be doing on earnings report, which comes in about a week or so? And then what is Tesla stock going to be doing after August 8th, which is going to be that announcement or whatever things that's going to be. And I say whatever because we just don't know until about a month from now. And rumors do fly around in these things, and it says essentially right now, as we can tell, one of the rumors may not be true, and that's according to Elon Musk. He just says false. So what part is false? Who knows? What's interesting though is that there are a lot of bets on both sides of the Tesla stock, and I'm willing to bet, because I've seen articles about this before, that these are leverage bets, meaning people are borrowing money to bet either for Tesla or against Tesla. And so that's why you get these crazy moves. You had this crazy headline. This was coming on July 8th. Hedge funds that piled into big Tesla short stung by huge rally. And it turns out, and I laugh because it's actually quite a bit, 18%, and this, which is so, a whole bunch of hedge funds, 18% of the 500 plus hedge funds tracked by the data provider Hazeltree had an overall short position on Tesla at the end of June. And I guess this is up from the hedge funds who had a short on Tesla. That was 15% of them had it in March. So the shorts against Tesla have increased. And we're going to see what happens because essentially you're all betting on what the rumors are going to be. Now, I want to draw this, though, larger than Tesla to understand the whole market. I know it's fun to talk about Tesla because it's fun, guys. They talk about new products and rumors and all this crazy CEO stuff. But it's also part of our markets is the frenzy on AI. This has been the headlines all year. You guys know this. NVIDIA has been climbing up like crazy. And moreover, if you're in the S&P 500, you got a bunch of NVIDIA stock in your portfolio already. So what's fascinating about NVIDIA, though, is that it's outperformed, its neighbors here. So neighbors being Meta, Alphabet, Amazon, you guys can see right there. And NVIDIA is just like to the moon. Can it keep going? The problem is with our markets right now is that you just have a few stocks that are holding up the whole market, and it's completely overweight. Wall Street Journal did a really interesting article about this and gave some specific numbers, which I want to go over with you guys and show you how the markets are frankly unhealthy. Here you go. It says earnings season to test investors' faith in big tech stocks. It's come out on July 7th. And if you take a look at this, this is essentially all based on, you have these top 10 companies. So it says share of S&P 500's market cap and earnings for the index top 10 companies. Essentially, you have these market caps climbing, right? The value of these companies, but their earnings don't quite match. Meaning that, and this is something that I talk with you guys a lot on this channel. My personal opinion is that you should care how much money companies make, and that stocks should be somewhat connected. I say somewhat because we seem to be disconnected from reality, but the idea that you value a company based on how much money it makes, I think that's a reasonable valuation. Now, there's some people out there that say, no, we don't pay attention to numbers. We don't understand numbers. Numbers don't matter. Numbers. All we care is that does a stock and a company and a flashy CEO like Elon Musk have a great story to tell us, because we buy stocks on stories. And there's certainly some people who do that, and there's certainly some people who can find success in that. But ultimately, the numbers do catch up to you, right? Because essentially, you got to pay the piper. You can tell stories all you want, but you got to pay the piper eventually. And it's also true, guys. Bubbles and market irrationality can last a long time. It can last longer than you can remain solvent. So, but I do want to point out the discrepancy here, right? So market caps are going up, but not necessarily earnings. Moreover, take a look at this. It says here, optimism has abounded even last year's AI-funded rally. The top 10 companies in the S&P 500 make up 37% of the index market cap, but contribute to 24% of its earnings, right? So essentially, again, these values are going up, but not necessarily their earnings. It's based on future hopes and future dreams. That's what we're talking about here. Moreover, this is a quote from, I think, what's this guy's name? It was, Torsten Slok. I believe it's a male. I don't know. You guys can tell me Torsten. I just don't know I don't know. We'll just say Torsten. But this person says here, the problem for the S&P 500 today is not only the high concentration, but also the record high boldness on future earnings from a small group of companies, right? Again, the bet is on these, few companies, I think we call them the Meg 7, with these example here of the top 10 companies is that, we understand that the numbers aren't there today, but they're going to be there tomorrow, right? The stocks are an investment in the future. And, this also bets on a couple things, what's going on with fiscal policy, what's going on around the world. For example, the Tesla, or we'll use the example of the NVIDIA, it's an easier example. The NVIDIA bulls say, okay, AI is going to be the future. NVIDIA is the monopoly on, said chips, and that all the companies are going to want to buy said chips. So right now we can certainly see there's growth there, right? But will it continue? Because the crazy thing is that NVIDIA actually has grown quite a bit in the last year. Say for example, they grow 300%. In their revenue and earnings, et cetera, this year. And then there's people out there that say, oh, well, if they did 300% this year, then therefore they must, grow 300% the next year and the next year and next year. But it never usually works that way. That's usually the story that you just tell people who don't understand numbers. It's the same way that Elon Musk was promising you 50% earnings growth, forever. It just doesn't work that way. There's only so much money in the world. I mean, there comes a point to where like, okay, so is one stock going to be worth more than everything else on the market? For example, it says here, overall companies in the S&P 500 are expected to report a fourth straight quarter earnings growth, with profits predicted to have climbed 8.5% from last year's second quarter. So that's sort of the growth that Wall Street wants in earnings, right? So this certainly is the question is, can stocks do that? This has been what it's been the last couple of years. You can see this. So 2020, I had a decrease in earnings. You had some decrease in earnings. What was this, 23? And then you have had increase in earnings in 24, right? So ultimately, we are watching these numbers. And if these turn out to be too rosy, you may see some pullbacks in stocks. This is sort of why we track consumers, because much of our market is based on consumer stocks. So for example, this example of Nike. Nike sells shoes. I like Nike shoes. I grew up in Oregon. That's where Nike's based. And essentially, right, for people to convince you that Nike stock is worth something, they need to sell shoes, and they need to sell shoes at a profit. And I mention that because this is something that sometimes you'll get caught up if you watch bull channels on, say, Tesla or whatever stock. They'll just focus on your revenue, right? Your sales, but not necessarily profits, because your expenses can go up. Sometimes your expenses can actually grow faster than your profits, so or your revenue. So, for example, Rivian would be a good example of that. Yes, they can increase the amount of car sales they have each year, right? So let's say they sell one car this year, 2 cars the next year, that's doubled. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Then they suddenly sell 50 cars, and oh my God, it's more than double. It's like I can't do the math on that quickly, but we'll say 25x, fantastic. But the problem is though, each car that they sell, they're losing money on, right? So that's why you want to keep track of earnings again, or profits, however you want to say it. I think it matters, but again, some people, stories are the only thing that matters. Moreover, take a look at some of this else. It says here, companies in S&P 500 are trading at 21.4 times their projected earnings over the next 12 months, compared with the 5-year average of 19.7. Meaning that when we look at stocks in the future and we look at their future earnings, we're valuing them a bit higher than we have in the last 5 years. So people are getting a bit optimistic here. You can see it right there in the numbers. Moreover, it says here, Wall Street appears upbeat, with the analysts expecting S&P 500 company profits to rise 11% for 2024. So you're looking at a couple different numbers here, right? So this one says 11% maybe for S&P 500. That's what Wall Street's looking for. And then also you saw this other number projected of 8.8, right? So essentially people are really, really bullish on the S&P 500. And if the numbers don't come in good, and again, I think the bank earnings are coming up. I think is it this week, I believe, and then Tesla next week, and then we get to Apple, Microsoft, etc. Ultimately, what you're doing is in say a year ago, you say, okay, this is the story of the market, and then the numbers come in, or even a quarter ago, and then you compare the stories to the numbers, and that's sort of why I go back to the Uber thing and the whole thing with Tesla. People are all excited about this robotaxi thing. I think it's a bunch of bubbles and hooey myself. I don't see them making money on this stuff anytime soon. And how long can the story last? That is the question. How long can the story last? Now, I want to point this out, guys. This is real. There's this thing called the greater fool theory, and the basic idea is that I buy something, and I'm a fool. I'm an idiot, right? I'll buy it for 300, but I think I can sell it to another fool, a greater fool, a bigger fool, for 500. So essentially, I'm buying things just because I think I can sell it to someone else for more. And these sort of trends don't last forever. And there was a interesting, and I want to show you an example. There was an interesting article. This was, I think this was from Barron's on July 5th. And they were talking about, every decade or so, there's something new that, sort of excites the market. So the examples they gave, I thought were interesting. They were saying, in the 20s, was railroad was big. And then the 20s, you started to have automobiles come into place. And then the 30s and 60s, you had the chemicals. And then I don't remember this line. I know the movie. It's they refer to The Graduate in 1967. I believe that's Dustin Hoffman. I know this movie. It's an older movie. It's the Mrs. Robinson one. If you guys know this one I'm talking about. And then I guess back then the big trend was plastics, which was kind of interesting. And then you also had for example the rise of the rise and fall, the fall of the Detroit automakers and the rise of the Japanese automakers, and you had the breakup of the AT&T monopoly, right? Talking about phones, and then et cetera. So the thing I'm trying to say is that nothing lasts forever, and this is sort of why you want to stay diversified. Yes, you can make money in a bubble. I showed these kind of charts before. For those people who lived it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For young kids, you'll be like, I'm not part of the bubble. It's not a bubble at all. It's going to be the future. And, for people like, say, for Cisco, they were right. They were absolutely right that this company was the future. However, if you bought it at the wrong valuation or a too high valuation, you're actually still down on your money. The company still exists, right? Just the stock never actually has recovered to its peak of the dot-com bubble. Same with Intel, or you had a whole bunch of companies that went bankrupt during this time, the same way you have a whole bunch of EV companies or flying car companies or crypto companies go bankrupt. It was a bubble. Now, it was interesting. I didn't take a picture. This is just off the internet, but I actually buy groceries at this place called E-Mart here in Korea. For those of you in Korea, you'll know there's E-Mart, Home Plus, etc. You know these stores. For those you don't know, that they're kind of like Walmart. I say kind of, but not exactly, because Walmart in the USA caters to or that's a nice way to say it. We'll just say lower income place. Home Plus, E-Mart in Korea is not really like that. It's just different. The lower income people go to more like local markets where it's like farmers markets, but it's not exactly the same comparison to Walmart. It's just not. It's not at all. So I said it's not a direct comparison, but we'll just say like a Walmart. What's interesting about it though is that the one that I go to here in Busan, they just recently remodeled, right? So they spent a whole bunch of money, they remodeled, and now they have an Apple store in it, right? And it looks something like that. This is just from the internet, but it looks basically like this. And what's interesting is because when I first came to Korea back in it was like after it was 2009, the official Apple stores did not exist. Even today, I think there's only one in the country, kind of official Apple store. And back then, there were Apple stores, but they were resellers, and they were small, and there weren't that many. Today, like literally today, the remodeling was just finished a week ago. Now you have like Apple products in E-Mart, places like that. And the reason why I bring this up is because for some people you'd read this as bullish. Oh, see, look at Apple's everywhere, they're dominating, etc. But it's fascinating because the way I see it when I was thinking about this is that the excitement for Apple products isn't what it used to be or exclusive like it used to be, meaning that we don't all go line up in person outside the store to buy the latest iPhone. People used to do that. And essentially what we're getting here is like, Apple saturation, like peak saturation. And it was funny because in the store, because I was just in the store yesterday, next to the Apple little display area, they had another sign that said Samsung AI is here. Get your new Samsung phone. Here in Korea, Samsung does very well, of course. It's a Korean company. But the point I'm trying to make is that, trends don't necessarily last forever, right? The same way with railroads don't last forever, or cars, etc. And also, too, if everyone is special, then no one is special, which sort of like the Incredible movies. I was just thinking about this today. And if you know this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll give you a couple more examples where things don't necessarily last forever. The Boston Celtics just won. This is the NBA. They just won an NBA championship, and now the owners want to sell. Essentially, buy low, sell high. This is the peak. Time to get out. Or another example is John Cena reported just 11 hours ago. He's a professional wrestler and movie star. He's retiring from wrestling, and chances are he's like, you know what? I don't need to do this pro wrestling stuff anymore. I'm just going to stick with Hollywood and make more Peacemaker shows. And yes, I did see the Peacemaker. It's a fun show. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is pretty fun. But the point being is nothing lasts forever. The same way I tell people and warn people, there's a high chance Elon Musk will leave Tesla the next couple of years. I think what's his age? I want to say he's 52 or 3. You guys can check on that exactly what it is, but it's something like that, early 50s. I'm 49, and I can just tell you guys, and I always tell my age because a lot of people think I'm in my 20s. It's not true. I'm 49. Things change. Things change in your life for any number of reasons. The same way that things change in the markets, and so do trends. So yes, some companies do stick around like an Apple, but they may not necessarily have the potential for growth anymore. Once you get in, say, E-Mart, say, for example, I gave you here in Korea, like, where else can you grow? Like, how many more stores can you possibly be in? And then you get peak saturation. It's just like too much of it. And also, too, your competitors catch up. So good luck to Mr. Senya and your, WWE retirement. And I'm sure you've got things planned and different sort of a part of your life. this AI stuff, how long will that go on in the markets? That's a question. And how long will our markets be imbalanced? That is also the question. My particular opinion is I watch the numbers. Yes, you can make money in a bubble, but just understand that you're in a bubble. And also, too, as I tell you guys to say, if you're in S&P 500, you're already making money off NVIDIA. And if you don't make money off NVIDIA may drop, but something else will pick up the slack. That's sort of how that sort of diversified strategy works. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Please share your thoughts on this. What do you think about the Elon Musk rumor that looks like is not true? Talking about the Uber thing. And I'll catch you all in the next video.